Good morning, boys and girls. This is Mrs. Joyce from the Gregory School. I hope that you are all having a wonderful day. And I am here today to walk you through our math lesson, which is 7.8. This math lesson is titled Division Measurement Number Stories. So boys and girls, please make sure you are logged into ConnectEd and on our lesson. Once you are, we are going to enter. And one quick note that I would like to mention is that I am screencastifying this lesson using an iPad. So iPads don't have the mouse icon. So just make sure you're listening really carefully so that way you know what screen I'm clicking on. Because like I said, you won't see a mouse floating around the screen. So we're going to start off today with our math message. So we're going to click on that. And it's going to bring us to our first question. And I'm going to read it out loud to you. Emily poured an entire 2-liter container of apple juice into 8 separate glasses. Each glass held the same amount. How many milliliters did each glass hold? So boys and girls, this is an example of the types of problem we're going to be solving today. And we're going to do a few together, and then you guys are going to solve some on your own in your journals. So what we're going to do first, and I hope that after reading that question, you realized that we are going to have to do a measurement conversion. And the reason for that is because we know that Emily has 2 liters of apple juice, but as you could see, they want the answer using the unit of milliliter. So I want you to take a moment and think, what is the conversion that your teacher taught you a few months back? 1 liter is equal to how many milliliters? Go ahead and think about that for a moment. All right, so I hope that you remembered that 1 liter is equivalent to 1,000 milliliters. So let's also keep in mind, boys and girls, that Emily doesn't have just 1 liter of apple juice. She has 2 liters of apple juice. So she has twice the amount that we have written as a conversion. So if 1 liter is 1,000 milliliters, then that means we need to double 1,000 or multiply by 2. So 2 liters is equal to 2,000 milliliters. Now, what I want you boys and girls to think of right now is what is the number model that we're going to need to solve to figure out how much apple juice would be in each of these 8 containers. So think about that for a moment. All right, so what we are going to do, and I hope that you guys decided the same exact thing, is we are going to take those 2,000 milliliters and we're going to divide it by 8. And that is going to equal our unknown, which in this case, I'm going to use the letter M for milliliters. So now I'm going to walk you through solving this problem. So our dividend is going to be 2,000. And our divisor is going to be 8. So I'm going to think of my first extended easy multiple that I could use to solve this. And I know that I want to do something that is 3 digits because my dividend is 2,000 and that's pretty big. So I know that 8 times 100 is 800, but I think I can extend that again and do 200. So I'm going to start with that. And I know that 200 times 8 is 1,600. So I'm going to subtract to see how much I have left. 0 minus 0 is 0. In the tens, 0 minus 0 is 0. In the hundreds, I can't take 6 from 0, so I'm going to regroup. The 2 in the thousands place is going to become a 1, and the 0 in the hundreds place is going to become a 10. 10 minus 6 is 4, so I am left with 400. Now I know 40 is a multiple of 8. And I know that 8 times 5 is 40. So instead of 5, I'm going to start with 50 next, because 50 times 8 gets me exactly 400. And now I'm left with nothing. So if I take my 2 parts and add them together, that gets me 250. So that means, going back to our original problem, 2,000 divided by 8 is equal to 250. Now, boys and girls, don't forget, we need our unit. And in this problem, it is milliliters. So, in each of those 8 glasses is going to be 250 milliliters of apple juice. So, some of you could have just written this division problem, or some of you might have used 1 liter as a benchmark, because we know that 1 liter, or half of 2 liters, is 1 liter, and half of 8 glasses is 4 glasses. So 4 glasses held 1 liter. If there are 1,000 milliliters in 1 liter, and if you divide that by 4, you would also get 250. You could have also drawn a measurement scale, like we see in our journals, and that could have helped you solve this as well. You could have drew a drawing or a chart. There are many ways you could have solved this problem. So now we're going to go on to our next problem, and we're going to go back to our home screen, and we're going to go to slide 2, slide 3, which is titled Solving Division Measurement Number Problems. And it's going to bring us to another question. So we're going to read this question out loud together. Here we go. The 4th graders at Basilone Elementary School voted to hold their spring celebration at a local skating rink. The 4th grade student council is in charge of renting the skating rink and planning the celebration. Help the student council make plans by answering the question below. The skating rink can be rented for a full session or a half a session, which is half as long as a full session. A full session is 7 hours and 30 minutes. The student council decided that they want to rent the skating rink for a half session. How many minutes long is a half session? So first, what I want to do is I want to underline things that I know from this problem. And I know that a full session is 7 hours and 30 minutes, which is a really long time to skate. The question that we have to answer, they want to know how many minutes long is half of a session. So we need to do a conversion. So boys and girls, the conversion that you're going to need to know for this problem is how many minutes there are in an hour. And I hope that you boys and girls remember that there are 60 minutes in 1 hour. So we know the length of a full session, which is 7 hours and 30 minutes. And we're going to need to figure out what half of that is in minutes. So I'm going to give you a moment to think of your number model with your unknown, and you can go ahead and write it on your screen. And I'm going to give you a few minutes to do so. Okay. So boys and girls, what we are going to do is first do our conversion. So we're going to have to change 7 hours into minutes. So to do so, we're going to multiply 7 times 60. And I'm going to put that in parentheses because that's what I'm going to need to do first. Then I'm going to add 30 because it's not just 7 hours, it's 7 hours and 30 minutes. That is the length of a full session. So that is going to give me my unknown for how many minutes a full session is. But if you remember, boys and girls, we want to answer the question, how many minutes is a half session? So that means that after we convert a full session into minutes, we're going to have to take that answer and divide it in half. And when we divide something in half, we divide it by 2. So to solve this problem, we are going to first solve for what is inside of our parentheses. And that is 7 times 60. So I know that 7 times 6 is 42. So that means 7 times 60 is 420. And then I am going to add 30, and I get a total of 450 minutes. And that is how long a full session is in minutes. So now I am going to take my 450 and divide it by 2. And that is what we are going to try to find out right now. So go ahead, take a moment to solve that problem, 450 divided by 2. And remember, we're dividing that by 2 because we want to know what half of a session is in minutes. Go ahead and figure that out, boys and girls. 450 divided by 2. Okay, so hopefully you've had enough time to divide 450 divided by 2. And I'm going to write it right up here. And I'm going to try to write it as small as I can so I have room. So 450 is my dividend and 2 is my divisor. So I'm going to start with 200 because 200 times 2, is 400. And that's going to take away a lot of my dividend. And I have 50 left over. And 50 divided by 2 is an easy problem for me because I always think of money. And I know that 2 quarters equals 50 cents. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do 25 as my next part because 25 times 2 is 50. And now I'm left with 0. So if I add together my parts, 200 plus 25 is 225. So I'm going to go back to my answer key and I am going to fill in 225 minutes. So boys and girls, as you could see, we had a few steps that we needed to do to solve this problem. First, we had to convert 7 hours into minutes and add the 30. And then we had to divide because we wanted to know what half of this skating session would be in minutes. So it's really important that when you're answering problems, you take a look at your units and you see if you have to convert. And also make sure that you're answering in using the appropriate unit. So in this case, we didn't want an answer in hours. We wanted an answer in minutes. All right. So now we're going to do one more problem together. Okay, we're going to go to screen 4, solving division measurement problems number 2. And we have the same situation, okay, where we're going to have the 4th graders at Basilone Elementary School. And this time we're going to have a problem that has to do with money. So here it is. The 4th graders at Basilone Elementary School voted to hold their spring celebration at a local skating rink. The 4th grade student council is in charge of renting the skating rink and planning the celebration. Help the student council make plans by answering the question on this and the following screens. So it costs $1,250 to rent the skating rink for half of a session. The student council already has $500 for renting the skating rink. They must raise the rest of the money by selling tickets to students who attend the celebration. If they charge $6 for each ticket, how many students must attend to make sure that they have enough money to rent out the skating rink? So we need to write a number model with an unknown. And we're going to do that right now. So let's think, boys and girls, what do we know from this problem? Well, we know that the total is $1,250. to rent the skating rink. And we also know that they already have, $500 to put towards that $1,250. So since $500 is less than $1,250, as of right now, they do not have enough money to rent out the skating rink. So they're going to raise the rest of the money by having students purchase tickets. And in the problem, it tells me that each ticket is $6. So we need to know, and we need, sorry about that. We need to figure out how many tickets need to be sold so that way they can raise enough money to get the $1,250. So I'm going to give you guys a moment to think of what your number model with an unknown may be, and then we'll solve it together. Go ahead, boys and girls. Okay. So hopefully your number model looks similar to mine. So I know that I have to first find out how much money they have left to raise. So I know that it costs $1,250 to rent the skating rink. And I'm going to subtract $500 from that because that's what they already have. And I'm going to put that in parentheses because I need to know that first. So once I subtract that, it's going to tell me how much money they have left that they need to raise. Then I'm going to need to divide that by 6. And the reason why is because each ticket that they're selling is $6. And that is going to tell me how many students must attend. So my number model is going to be 1,250 minus 500 divided by 6. So boys and girls, the first thing we're going to do is subtract, because remember, anything in parentheses means you do that first. And I know that 1,250 minus 500 equals 750. There we go. So now I am going to have to divide 750 by 6. And that's going to be, that's going to be the final step that I'm going to need to do to figure out how many students must attend. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and set up my problem. 750. I'm on the eraser. And here we go. 750 divided by 6. Okay. So I know that my first part could certainly be a 3-digit number, and only because the 7 is bigger than the 6. So I'm going to start with 100. And 100 groups of 6 is 600. So I'm going to subtract. And I'm left with 150. Now my next part is I'm going to use is going to be 20. 20 groups of 6 is 120. And that leaves me with 30. So now I can finish up the problem because 30 is a multiple of 6. And I know that 5 groups of 6 is 30. And I apologize. My handwriting is not the best on here. So 100 plus 20 plus 5, when I add that together, is going to get me a sum of 125. So that means that 125 students must buy a ticket so they have enough money to rent the skating rink. So boys and girls, what you guys are going to do now is start to answer the questions you see on the following screens. And I'm going to show you how to get to them right now. So we're going to go to screen 4, which is right where we were. Sorry. And you're going to make sure that in the upper right-hand corner, you go from screen 1 all the way to screen 6. Now, screen 1 is the problem that we already did. So you are going to have screen 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 to complete. Boys and girls, remember, you can solve these right here on ConnectEd. Your teacher has the capability of seeing your work. Or you can go ahead and solve them in the notebook that you were given. And we can take a look at them together when we are back in class. So boys and girls, just a couple tips to remember before you get started and my iPad dies is just remember to read the question and make sure that you understand what you know from the problem and what you need to find out. Check to see if you need to do a measurement conversion like we had to do before. We had to convert liters to milliliters. We had to convert hours to minutes. And make sure that you're writing a number model that makes sense. Okay? And also make sure that when you write your answers to these problems, you have your unit. So in this case, on the screen that you can see, our unit was students because they needed to know how many students needed to attend. So take your time, work through these problems as best as you can. And I hope that this video helped you understand how to do so. And if you have any questions, boys and girls, I know in my homeroom, please reach out through Google Classroom and I will answer them as soon as I possibly can. And I hope that everybody has a wonderful day. And don't forget, boys and girls, when you're finished with your journal questions, you're going to make sure that you go to your math boxes, which is screen 6. Complete your home link, which is on screen 7. And if you have time, you could play the game Fishing for Fractions, which is the addition version, as your game for today. Bye, boys and girls. I hope everybody has a great day. Thanks for listening.